Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Consciousness Unleashed podcast with the new Paradigm Shaman Bonnie Serratore and the creator of the Serratore method. I'm your co host, Cynthia, and we're going to talk today about sort of a part three of the other two episodes that we had previously on this podcast episode that really goes deep into the idea of looking within and doing that inner work that is necessary for us to make real change in our lives. The first two episodes that I've talked about are linked in the description, so please watch those to give greater context for what we're going to be talking about today. And today is specifically about what it takes to know ourselves, or the courage to truly know ourselves. So, Bonnie, thanks again for joining me today. My first question is, what is your definition of knowing yourself?
Yeah, it's a big one. So for me, to know thyself really does mean to know who I am with the wounding and also absent wounding, with the misperceptions and conclusions about life, which we all have. Okay. So the problem with all of that is when we have these misperceptions, then we're living in this reactive state. So to know yourself means for me is to discover, oh, I'm having a reaction. Okay. So the knowing thyself is understanding why I'm having reactions, what I can do about it, how can I change my life, how can I change my world, how can I change my experience by literally understanding my own self. Okay, so to know thyself, to know myself means the self-discovery and understanding and discovering, oh, wait a second, all of my beliefs, my conclusions, my misperceptions, none of these are really who I am. So what I'm looking for is the real me. What we're all looking for is the real us, okay? And we have the ego, we have the false self. So what's happening in the self-discovering, the know thyself is we're starting to unravel some of the ego. We're starting to dissolve some of that ego, which is vitally necessary if we want to be in the world with our heart open and experiencing unconditional love, which is who we are in the very core of our being. So to know ourselves literally means clearing and understanding, discovering whatever is not me. Okay. And here's the truth. My reactions are not me. My judgments are not me. My emotions are not me. So to know thyself means, oh, where's this coming from? How did this get created? How did I become this person with all these interferences and misperceptions and beliefs and blockages keeping me from shining my light, from just sharing the gift of who I am? So for me, this is a major unraveling. It's a major program to help us, to help myself, discover all these pieces, all these misperceptions, to discover, what are these energies that are interfering with me, so then I'm empowered to change them, to either release them, clear them, whatever needs to happen. But basically, the soul's journey is really truly to share the gift of who we are. And the true gift of who we are is us when we're in our true energy, our true essence, that energy that we are of that light, the unconditional love and light. So to be free from all of those energy frequencies really does mean that I'm going to be able to live more fully, more clearly of who I actually am without all the interferences and the misperceptions. So, it's a self-discovery. It's an opportunity to know who you really are, and not just to know who you are, but to live who you really are.
Bonnie, when I first was thinking about this episode today, and you were talking about the ego, and that was what came up for me was like the irony of sort of the idea of going within and knowing the pain and the ego and the wounding, and then knowing yourself in those emotions, which in a sense is, knowing yourself. But then on the other end of that, you then become more your true self, which was never any of that stuff. And but also the idea that you can't really know yourself without that contrast also. And so that was part of the soul's journey, right? Is to know everything, including who we are in all of these issues. And then once we could have a greater appreciation, understanding of who we really are at without all that as well. So there's that contrast. Do you want to talk about that as well?
Yeah. So, we have these misperceptions of who we actually think we are. And for example, like when maybe we're afraid of certain things, and so we think that's who we are. We have fear around maybe it's animals or dogs, or maybe we have fear of being speaking in front of people, or maybe we're caretakers or caregivers, or maybe we sell ourselves out. Maybe we're doormats. You know what I'm saying? So we have all these beliefs around ourselves that simply are not true, but we believe it. We really do think that's who I am. This is who I am. Okay. I've actually had people say that to me. This is who I am. Okay. But it's not who we are. It's the ego that got created and developed that needed to make sure to ensure survival. It's all about survival with the ego. And so that survival, then becoming that false self, becoming the ego, we learned how to interact with people. We learned that, oh, when mom or dad isn't, we're going to get in trouble if we do this, or, we can read their energy and like, uh-oh, trouble's happening, or uh-oh, it feels like they're not going to love us. Again, we start to become something other than who we are to ensure that we're loved. It's major, major survival. So when you understand that we've created this false self, this false ego, because of the need, desire for survival, which means we must have love to live, then we become anything and everything other than our true selves in order to ensure that we are loved. So in our misperceptions of who we are, we see ourselves, oh yeah, I get jealous. I'm a jealous person when, I see something, and I have envy, or I have, these really strong beliefs about good, bad, right, and wrong. So all of these still are not who we are. Okay. They're just the false self. And when we're living from a place of these misperceptions, when we, the ego, the false self, and we're believing that this is who we are, then there's no opportunity for change. We're kind of stuck with this. We're bound with these beliefs. So when we start to unravel and start to understand that we are not these beliefs, we are not these emotions, we are not these fears, we are not these jealous people, we are not these angry, resentful people, we are not the blamers, we're not the judging of others. That truly who we are is in the very core is that pure, pure light, pure love and light. And when we live in that place, we're no longer causing harm. You know what I mean? There's not that intentional causing harm. There's not even, you're becoming harmless, okay? Your heart is open. There's no longer desire to undermine people or steal for people or, hate people or, all the things that we're living that are simply not the truth. So when we truly understand that we are not our belief systems, we are not our emotions, that we really are these amazing divine beings, that in the truth of who we are is that pure unconditional love, then that becomes a desire to live that, to be that, because it is that, we are that. And as we wake up, then we start to see, oh my goodness, my fear was caused because of something way back in my life, or my feelings like I'm not wanted or I don't belong. Oh, it came from that experience when I was a kid or in the womb, So we're discovering how we begin to believe what we believe, but more importantly, we're starting to unravel and clear the energies, the wounding, the misperceptions, and the beliefs and conclusions, because now we're understanding who we really are. And then there's that desire to live that, to be that, what that we are. So, it's a waking up. And when we have the tools, when we have the teachings, it's exciting. Okay. Wow, I can change my life. I can heal. I can get better. I can be better. I can be happy, and that's what people want. People want to be happy. If you ask anybody, ultimately everyone wants to be happy. Okay. So, the understanding of who we really are is paramount in our understanding what we can do to come back to the true energy, true essence of ourselves. Okay. So, yeah, to know thyself means, become the authentic you, dropping and falling away the things that are not you, which is all that ego and false self and all misperceptions.
Bonnie, you talked about how our ego and our wounding that's formed because of these beliefs we have of or fears we have of like fear of death and fear of not being lovable and all these other types of fears that we may have that forms that ego. So obviously, it would take courage or
Mm,
the desire to look at oneself in order to go through this journey. So would you say that courage is the right term here, or what does it take really to go within
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. First, I just want to say that most people will avoid themselves. At any cost, people will avoid looking at the self, okay? Because it's terrifying, it's frightening, it's scary. And here's why. We don't know what's in our subconscious, okay? But we can feel there's things that we don't know. And the unconscious fear is that I don't know what it is, but other people will see it and judge me. So again, it hits that whole survival thing. But basically, it's more than courage. You have to be willing. There has to be a willingness, okay? And on some level, you have to know that by facing yourself and looking within, you're going to find things that are scary, that are uncomfortable, that are painful. Okay, we don't want to feel pain. We want to avoid it at all costs. Okay, so it takes willingness, it takes courage, but it also takes be brave enough that you're going to face yourself. It's kind of like we see lots of people going to war and battle. They're brave going in and fighting for their country. And yet, where's the bravery in looking within? Okay. So, again, you're going to find stuff that you don't like. You're going to find things that are terrifying. You're going to find things that are painful. Okay. And then, two, you're going to discover your own self and how you've caused harm. So, you know what I mean? It's like you're going to find out, wow, I hurt people. Think about this. When we withhold love, we hurt people. Okay, so if I'm going to punish you because I got mad at you, because maybe I'm with my partner and maybe we had a disagreement over some like too much salt in the meat. I'm just saying, okay. So now I'm all hurt and angry, but I'm going to punish by I'm going to withhold love. Okay, so that's a punishment that we all do a lot. So we're going to start understanding how we've caused harm to others, how we've hurt others. But basically, it's like look at ourselves. We have to face who we are, discover who we are. But more than that is all of these behaviors are not who we are, not really. This is the wounding. This is the fear. This is terror. This is feeling not loved. This is needing, wanting love. Okay, that is not who we are. But for a little bit, it's going to feel like, oh, this is who I am because that is your ego and that is your behavior. But ultimately, it is not the core of who you are. Okay, so you're going to discover all these things facing yourself. It's going to be intense, but truthfully, you got something more important. You got something better to do than literally get free, get liberated, and share the gift of who you really are. I don't think so.
Bonnie, I've been on this path for more than 10 years now, and I've met some people who, they get started on this as well. And once they start looking within, maybe they do a little bit, but once they find something really, really intense, they just stop and they're complete opposite. So if, that might be what happens with some people listening to this. What advice would you give people who they've started and then, they have enough courage to start the journey, but then once they hit something really intense, it's like, oh, they're back to
Yeah,
where
I
they
don't want
were.
to do it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to remind everyone whatever you've got inside, whatever's there, never goes away, even when you die. Okay, so you might be thinking, okay, well, I'll just die, then I won't have to face it. No, it'll still be there and it'll be more intense. Okay, there is no escape from yourself. Say, get it? There is no escape. So we've got the energy of the new paradigm happening, which is shining on our energy frequency, which is helping to bring things to the surface so that we can go through them. Okay. So now is the time. Now is the best time ever to really face yourself and look within. And, I understand, sure, it gets really scary, but again, you're jammed up, it's like your life is not happy, you're not creating what you really want. There's misery, there's great suffering. So, it's like make the choice. It's like this, okay? It's like having a toothache, okay? I have this major toothache. I don't want to go to the dentist, so I'm in pain. I'm in pain for months, for years. Toothache, toothache. I don't want to go to the dentist. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. I'm not going, okay? Finally, I go to the dentist, all right? Oh, excruciating pain for seconds, and then it's over. Then I start to heal, and it's like, wow, I spent all those years in great suffering. I could have been through it in a matter of seconds. Okay, so yeah, it's going to be intense, but it's not going to stay intense. When you go through it, you're done. Okay, so think about that. Do you want to keep extending your suffering for lifetimes, or do you want to get in there and face yourself and unravel and get liberated and enjoy the life that you have right here, right now?
We're talking about having the courage to know yourself, having the courage to look within and seeing all these things that are painful to see. But once you're on this journey and you do enough clearing, at least from my experience, there comes a point where you get clear enough where it no longer is courage, it's a knowing. Do you know what I mean? Like you have
Mm-hmm.
enough strength within you. You've done it enough times. You've cleared enough
Right.
things, or at least enough layers of certain issues.
Yeah.
Where now
Yeah.
it's not courage. Now it's I know I could do this. I know I could face this. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what
Mm-hmm.
else I find, no matter how dark it is, there's a part of me
Right.
that has that strength now. So
Right.
do you want to talk about that part?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So I remember in my own life, I remember when I had my first big shift because I went into the really deep emotions, okay? And I remember what that felt like. This was like this was like 40 something, more than 45 years ago. So that's when I was on my, journey. And once I had that, it was like, oh, then I knew that, wow, well, if it happened then, maybe it'll happen again. So then when I got activated again, I just, it was like, yes, it changed me. So by going through these places, facing these really intense emotions, I was changed, like seriously changed. So what it did for me was I really got it that, wow, if I face myself, I will change for the better. I will be better. I will be different. The pain levels will be less. So what it did for me is it made it more tangible so that when something would happen and had to come up against something with myself, I already had the proof that if I go through this, I'm going to come out the other side. Okay. So what it did for me was it gave me the desire, the wanting, where it's okay, all right, I can do this. And so it made it easier to just, all right, here we go. It's going to be intense, but I've lived through it. I didn't die. And the knowing of the outcome is what really, really, really kept me going. And to this day, I don't have a fear anymore of dropping into any emotion or discovering anything inside of my own self. And it just what it does for me and for anyone is you're no longer going to be afraid because you got proof and evidence that shift happens for the better, and then it makes it more easier to go, oh, here we go, this is a big one. Oh, okay. And you go in, you go through, and you come out the other side, and it's like, what was, I mean, I'm not going to, negate anything, and I'm going to tell the truth. I mean, it feels like you're going to die. It feels like your heart's going to break. It feels like you're shattering. It feels like you're broken. Okay. It's intense, but it's not for days and weeks and months. Like I was saying, it's a matter of minutes. Okay. Matter of minutes, really. If you truly drop in, go through it, you come out the other side and you're done. Done.
Bonnie, as you were talking about that, memory came to mind. I'd like to share something that just came up in one of my stories.
Mm-hmm.
Is Years ago I was traveling. I was in Cambodia and I was planning to stay there for like a year. But I ended up getting hurt. I got injured. My ankle was really badly hurt. So I had to come back to America. But I've never had an ankle injury before that, and it was really, really bad. Like I couldn't walking. It took like 6 months to like heal to where I could. feel okay, like
Wow.
walking,
Yeah.
and even running. Like it took me a while to even want to run, like have that
Mm-hmm.
desire to even try because there was that trauma. So, but at some point within that time I was healing, I started getting these really intrusive thoughts about this, like stairs, walking up and down the stairs. It would just keep coming in, these thoughts, like just these images, and
Mm.
it was so destructive to me that it would interrupt me in my meditations. It would, just throughout the day, these intrusive thoughts of fear of falling down the stairs. So I already had done enough, inner work to know that if I face it, it would go away. And this was happening. I couldn't just look away,
Yeah.
because it kept coming in no matter what.
Right.
So I said, okay, you know what? There's a fear here, or there's several fears here. I'm gonna look at it. So I actually, and I don't recommend people do the way I did it. This was before I met Bonnie. I was on my own doing inner work. I literally didn't have any mentors or anything.
Mm.
So I thought, okay, I'm gonna imagine myself actually falling down a stairs, and like it's fine, I know, right? But I would like put myself, what is the worst case scenario? What are my fears? Yeah, I did that so that all the underlying things would come up, and then I would feel them. And then after I was able to do that, the fear was completely gone. I had no issues walking up the stairs. The dots didn't come in anymore. It was just done. Like
Wow. It was
I don't
done.
even hold a rail on a
Yeah.
stair
Yeah.
thing. What do you call it? I don't even hold a rail on a
Mm-hmm.
staircase.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just, it doesn't come up anymore. But that was something that was very persistent. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I went through that, it was just gone completely. Like
It
I
was
can't even
over.
find
Yeah.
the fear anymore.
Yeah.
But through that process, though, I noticed that that fear of falling down the steps was the surface of other fears.
Right.
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 But I couldn't know that unless I first looked into what was that thought kept popping up.
Right.
But there was more underneath it. And I had to be willing to even look at it initially, like that initial fear, to even
Right.
go deeper within. And
Right.
so I just wanted to share that. Like it was something that was
Yeah.
bothering me a lot all the time. And it didn't take very long for me to get through it once I allowed myself to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything
Yeah.
you want to say about that, Bonnie, if that helped? I hope that helps people, but I don't really
Yeah.
recommend visualizing yourself.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to act out. Like, for example, we would do that in classes or workshops. We'd have things acting out. For example, think about this, like when I would do the core awakening or according to the core workshops, are very intensive, but we had someone in the class who had been violated. And so what we do is it's about the surrendering to the emotion. Okay. So what we're doing is we're amping up the energy, recreating the energy to activate the feelings within that person. Okay. So that's exactly what you're saying is, you're doing something to activate the emotion by, like for you, imagine yourself falling down the stairs. Okay. Well, in the workshop, we were able to do things that would recreate the kind of feelings, the sensations through the behaviors and actions of others that would trigger things inside of people. Okay. So when you're doing your own work, basically it's about the reaction. So any reaction that you're having can take you into your subconscious if you can surrender to that energy. Okay. So you don't really have to do what Cynthia did unless you're not getting triggered. Okay. If you're not getting triggered, then you're going to want to do something to activate it yourself, like she did. But basically, life is going to bring you opportunity all the time. So anytime you're having a reaction, that's your doorway in. And if you understand how to use that reaction to find the subconscious wounding, then you'll be able to do a lot of your own inner work, a lot of shifting, changing your own inner work, accessing your subconscious and literally releasing energies from the subconscious.
Bonnie, you have a program that's coming up called Know Thyself. And it's a 9-month program where you teach people. Each month there's a new topic. Go really deep into those topics for each month, and you actually help them to understand it in a way where they can do this inner work very
Mm-hmm.
deeply. And and also students will meet up with each other in between classes to go over the topics and witness themselves in in going through the emotions and knowing themselves in the emotions. So do you want to talk a little bit about a Know Thyself program and your upcoming master class that's on September 27th?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So to know that for me personally, I feel like the whole world needs to have these teachings simply because they're high level teachings, they're advanced teachings, but they're for everyone. Okay. They're not, they're absolutes. They're not like making something up or, buying into some belief system. They actually are ways in which we discover about ourselves. We like what I was saying earlier today was, we have these reactions or we have these judgments or we have these, big emotions. Okay. So we're discovering that all of these reactions and all of these emotions are actually coming from something that already lives within. So we're learning about reactions. We're learning about where does stuff really coming from? And why am I behaving this way? Why am I acting this way? But most importantly, what's really happening is you're being given teachings and information and guidance that helps you to literally discover who you are. Okay. So if I understand that, like if I'm looking in the world and it's very normal for us to judge something or find fault with something, but what if we realize and discovered that that isn't our natural state of being? That is not who we are. That what it really means is that there's something deeper inside of us that's causing us to have this kind of behavior, that's causing us to find fault with others, to judge them, to want to hurt them, to be envious or jealous of others. So all of these emotions are not who we are. And in this program, you're going to start to discover how that's actually true. Okay. You're going to discover that everything is coming from a wounded place, a misperception, a conclusion, an angst, a hurt. Okay. Where we got hurt. All these feelings of helpless and hopeless and forsaken. Okay. These are woundings of energy in the subconscious coming from past lives as well as reinforced to this lifetime. But basically, we have all these beliefs and misperceptions about who we are that we're living as though this is the truth, and it's not the truth. Okay, so this program is teaching you the truth of who you are, which is a divine being with pure love and light in the very core of your being. That the true dance here, the true purpose is to wake up to who you are, the truth of who you are, and shine your light and be authentically yourself. In that, whatever you're going to be doing in the world, it will start to unfold. It'll start to present. But the biggest energy, the biggest truth of what we are doing, our purpose, our true purpose is to be liberated from our wounding. Okay, this know thyself is going to get you there. It's going to teach you how to do it. It's going to teach you how to face yourself. It's going to teach you all the different ways in which you are disconnected. Okay, and all of these ways, everything leads back to the self. So you can use anything in your life to find a deeper place where you got hurt or wounded or where you shut down your heart, where and then begin to go into hiding and you begin to hide your beautiful light. Okay, so this is high level stuff. This is like self mastery, beyond self mastery. This is about really becoming the truth of who you are, absent all your misperceptions and woundings and shatterings and carryovers and all of it. Okay, it's just really shining and becoming you, the beautiful light that you are. That's what this program is really about. And there's so many pieces to it, all not just reactions, everything we're doing is displaying, is demonstrating where we don't have mastery, where we're living from a wounded, shattered, broken place rather than from, the heart, the light, the beautiful light, pure, unconditional love that we really all are. So ultimately, that's what this Know Thyself program is about. It's about getting liberated to be the true, authentic, unconditional, loving being that you already are.
Bonnie, you do have a masterclass on September 27th. It's 45 minutes long, and the link will be in the description below. So you could join the masterclass with Bonnie on September 27th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And we also have a mirror work journal that's free. You could download. and that will help you to get started on the journey of looking within. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you all got a lot from today's discussion. And thank you so much, Bonnie, for your amazing wisdom and stories. And see you next time.
All right. Thank you, Cynthia.